100 years of trailblazing, 100 years of striving, from extreme poverty to a well-off society, from a sleeping giant to a responsible global power. Mission and vision, from the past and into the future. Decoding the Communist Party of China. Centenary and Beyond, only on CGTN.
All right, we'll continue our special series Centenary and Beyond to mark 100 years since the founding of the Communist Party of China. We look back over the party's history and also mission with our reporters bringing you stories from the past and present, and we get insights from experts on what drives the party in fulfilling its present mission. And today we look at how the party has focused on green development, from planting trees in central China to developing new energy vehicles. We talked to Hu Chao in Lankao County of central China's Henan province and Huangfei in southern China's Guangzhou city. I'll start with you. Hu Chao, you are at the site now, considered a role model for green development, but actually Lankao is famous in China for a very excellent county-level leader, Jiao Yulu. Here's another role model.
Well, as you can see now, I'm in a beautiful park in the Lankao County in central China's Henan province. And this tree behind me is a Paulownia tree known as Jiao Tong in Chinese. But locals call it Jiao Tong. This is to commemorate Jiao Yulu, who planted this tree in 1963. Now it is, as you can see, among numerous Paulownia trees here in the county, which has literally become a sea of green. But the picture was completely the opposite before Jiao Yulu came to work as the party secretary of the county's branch committee. Now let's take a look.
Lankao is a county sitting along the Yellow River in central China's Henan province. The place used to suffer from barren lands caused by desertification. In 1962, Lankao was hit by severe natural disasters. A sandstorm in spring destroyed over 130 square kilometers of wheat crops. In autumn, heavy rainfall flooded and destroyed another 200 square kilometers of crops, and more than 60 square kilometers of young crops also died from saline soil. Without any harvest, famine spread in the county. Streets were often empty while the local railway station was overwhelmed with hungry people waiting to climb up onto a train to leave and seek food elsewhere. That was when Jiao Yulu came to work as a secretary of the county-level committee of the Communist Party of China. He saw the suffering of the local people and was determined to make a change.
Well, more than half a century ago, Lankao was known as one of the poorest in the province. But today, as you can see, the contrast is stark. Lankao was the first in the province to be lifted out of poverty and is considered as a role model for green development. And the credit goes to Jiao Yulu. Today, we have invited a special guest with us, Mario Carvalho. Welcome to our show, Mario.
Thank you so much for inviting me to Lankao, my first time here.
And Mario has been living in China for 21 years. Yeah. He's from the United States. So what's your impression of this small county and the local life?
Well, as you and I have been discussing for the last day or so, I've been here 21 years. I've traveled around to many cities, and I've learned how much, even though the big cities are exciting and dynamic, but the smaller third and fourth tier cities, the Shaoxianchang, they are so comfortable and so lovely, and Lankao is no exception. It's easy to love Lankao.
And have you ever heard of Jiao Yulu? What do you know about him?
That's an even better part of the story, because I'd not heard of Lankao, and of course now that I'm here I learn and watch the documentary that you shared with me to learn about what Lankao's significance in Chinese history and culture, and the incredible story of Jiao Yulu. This man basically conquered nature. He was assigned by the party to take on an incredible project in the late 1950s and early 60s, as we've been talking about. And what he accomplished is amazing. And the city now, and as it should have a century later, embodies what's come to be known as the spirit of Jiao Yulu, and it's for very good reason.
Well, in the 1960s, the region's party committee was looking for a leader to come to work in Lankao and help improve things here. Well, many felt reluctant to come to work in such an impoverished area. Jiao Yulu said yes. He didn't ask about the salary, nor did he tell the party committee about his severe liver disease. He was so determined to come to bring changes here and bring happiness to the local people. So Mario, among all that Jiao Yulu did in Lankao, what impresses you most?
Well, this is the part that I came to immediately feel I was, as we say in Chinese, 非常感动的, right? I was really touched to understand. This is a man who came here, he was very ill at the time, which we'll talk about more in a moment, and he conquered nature. The area was being bombarded by continuous sandstorms and flooding problems and soil erosion. He assembled a team of 120 people. They surveyed over 1,500 kilometers around the provinces to go out and identify the source of the problem. At the same time, he identified the resources that were needed to overcome the problem, drew up, executed a master plan, and we wouldn't be here in this lovely city today if he hadn't done all that.
Yes, and Jiao Yulu actually was rarely in his office, but preferring to visit the households to check in on them, whether they have enough food or basic needs, or take the lead to plant trees here with the local people, and also work in the fields with the local farmers. Yes. So how do you view the relationship between Jiao Yulu and the local people?
Well, when we talk about the relationship between Jiao Yulu and the people, that's exactly the point. He, in spite of the fact that he was capable and able to accomplish this incredible result in terms of infrastructure and the environment, but he was people-oriented. And I want to bring in this aspect of the fact that he was chronically ill. As we know, he died young. I think that knowing that he was quite ill gave him a sense of realizing that, hey, life could be short, and so therefore, what's most important? Not sitting in the office, but being out with the people and leaving a legacy and being in relationships, which is what life is all about.
Yeah, Jiao Yulu often worked very late into the night and forgot to eat and rest. Meanwhile, actually, as you mentioned, he suffered unbearable pain from the liver disease. And in 1964, he died of liver cancer at the age of 42. Yeah. And at his funeral, tens of thousands of local people came to mourn him and pay their respects. So how do you see the local people's reaction?
Well, that's the final, we have to say, the final tragic chapter of the story. But here's a man who showed the world what it really meant to be selfless. He literally, he knew he was ill. In fact, he refused treatments along the way. He was like, no, leave me alone. Let me just accomplish what I want to accomplish, leave a legacy, take care of the people, be involved in the people, accomplish this incredible goal of conquering nature on 3 fronts, which he did. And all of that embodies what has become known to be the spirit of Jiao Yulu here in Lankao. It's understandable. I'm not at all surprised. As you say, tens of thousands of people showed up here for his funeral.
Well, that was Jiao Yulu, always put the benefits of the people before himself.
Exactly.
And his selflessness left a legacy that inspired the next generations to continue his work and eventually change the destiny of Lankao. So as you can see, the county is covered in forest by over 30%. So do you know why Jiao Yulu picked Paulownia tree for afforestation?
And that's the really cool part of the story, because he identified what the problem was with his team, and that took several months. But along the way, he had to also identify locally what were the resources that were going to be available to him to help him overcome the problem and to address these issues of the flooding and the sandstorms and the soil erosion. And he discovered the Paulownia tree first because he noticed that the locals were using the wood for high-quality musical instruments. But he also learned that the Paulownia tree grows very quickly, so it grows very large within just 5 to 6 years, and it had a very broad leaf which helps to protect the sandstorms, against the sandstorms. Finally, he also came to understand that the Paulownia tree could grow very well in the local sandy and more salty soil. So it was a great choice, and again, look what he accomplished.
Yes, and talking about musical instruments.
Yeah.
So take a look over there.
We're going over to the guzheng.
Well, guzheng is also called Asian zheng. It's a traditional Chinese musical instrument dating back thousands of years old. You know what? This is actually made of Paulownia wood.
The guzheng is made is one of the musical instruments made of the Paulownia. Now that I did, again, another thing I didn't know until I came to Lankao.
And I know you can play piano.
Yeah.
So you want to have a try?
To tell you the truth, I knew you were going to ask, so I asked Zhang Laoshi to give me a little lesson before we began. Zhang Laoshi, 我可以弹一下? Thank you. I'm not going to vouch for how good it's going to be, but that's it.
You're not doing bad.
Not so bad.
Well, musical instrument making has become a major industry here in Lankao, propelling the local grain development. And actually, Lankao is one of many places in China that fought against desertification through vigorous afforestation projects. Now let's follow CGTN reporter Chen Tianyuan to Chengde in Hebei to see one such venture.
From a sprawling desert to a lush paradise, every tree in Saihanba tells the story of a miraculous transformation, or rather the hard work of 3 generations of people. These trees are roughly twice my age, planted by the first generation foresters who came here 60 years ago, when the 369 men and women, mostly in their 20s, arrived in 1962. There was nothing but sand. The foresters planted their first seedlings with simple tools, and they buried the roots deep in the soil, hoping the baby trees would grow fast and strong. However, in the first few years, their survival rate wasn't high. Many seedlings didn't make through the extreme cold and drought. But no matter how difficult it was, the foresters always met the challenges head-on. After decades of hard work, the tree planters single-handedly turned the vast wasteland into a 75,000-hectare sea of green, the largest man-made forest in the world. Each year, the forest can produce 570,000 tons of oxygen, enough for 2 million people to breathe in for a year. As the trees grew taller, the foresters' hair turned gray. Many have taken roots in Saihanba, like the seedlings they planted. Their children, often called Miao Miao or Sin Sin, in Chinese, little seedling and forest. Many of them were born and raised at this forest farm. Like their fathers and mothers, the younger generation have carried on the noble cause and continue devoting their best years to a greener future.
Well, the government stressed green development must go hand in hand with the economic growth. And another demonstration of this is China's growing new energy auto industry. Last year, more than 1 million electric vehicles were delivered in the country. And the southern city of Guangzhou is home to the nation's first smart and sustainable factory for electric cars. So for more on this, let's go to our reporter Huang Fei, who is at the headquarters of Guangzhou Automobile Group. Well, Huang Fei, hello there. So what can you tell us about this factory?
Hello there. I'm at the Guangzhou Automobiles factory, a showroom actually, to showcase their EV brand Ion. Now, since launching about 4 years ago, the company says it's helped cut carbon emission by about 900,000 tons, and that's equivalent to planting 8 million trees. And I want to find out why these are some of the fastest selling cars in the world, and I may have some answers right here. Welcome to my private cinema. Now, thanks to electric vehicles like these, we can now enjoy a movie night in the comfort and safety of our own vehicle. There's no petrol fume coming out of the engine because this is a pure electric vehicle. And, you know, there's also an enormous amount of free space, which in itself is a huge technological breakthrough. This is also a smart car that reads your body language. So if you pull out a cigarette, the windows will actually come down on their own. And this is partly why Guangzhou Automobile has named its EV brand ION, which stands for AI on the car. So I'm going to get out of the car now and talk to an expert. So we've really seen huge breakthroughs in Chinese electric vehicles in recent years, improving in comfort, range, and intelligence. But just how challenging has it been to make that transition? I have my guest here today. He's Mr. Gu Huinan. He's the General Manager of GAC ION. 古总您好。那咱们的这个新能源车呀，已经进入了
For the China's new energy vehicle have entered an era of high quality development and the green transformation.
产生的一些就是问题啊，还
may have some challenges
需要解决的一些问题有哪些
and problems. Can you tell us more about this? Indeed, in the past few years, the new energy industry has developed very fast, but there are many challenges and problems. You talk about the green development. For vehicles, we have to continue to develop this industry. We have to save the energy. We need to use more green energy. Second, we have focused on safety and the cost to bring more value to the consumers. Third, we have to develop the intelligent connected technology. Fourth, we also have to follow up on the policies and regulations. So right now, actually, we are very close to the production line. We all know every 120 seconds a new car will come off of the production line. And actually, this factory was built for pure electric vehicle. Can you tell us more about the idea of the intelligent ecology? For this factory, it aims for the future of the iron. It is a new ecological factory built by GAC. It has several features. First, we will make green products and intelligent vehicles. Second, for this vehicle, we are an eco-park to utilize the sustainable power, for example, the solar power, the wind power, and some of the storage power. And also we are focusing on the digital development as well. So from the business perspective, and China is committed, and also they also encourage to develop the green energy. What does that mean for China and for the world? General Secretary Xi has pointed out that we need to build a community with shared future for mankind. So we need a very healthy environment and a healthy body. So our mission is to build new energy, and it is a commitment to reach carbon neutralization. We also have this confidence. We shoulder this responsibility to fulfill our task. So our objective is to bring green and safe travel to our consumers. We hope our efforts can bring more value to the consumers. Thank you.
So, you know, as the world's largest auto auto market, China's promise for carbon neutrality has really driven innovations to make cars greener, safer, and smarter. And according to a bold estimate by Swiss bank UBS, by the year 2040, all new cars in the world could become electric. Right now, another Guangdong enterprise, BYD, which means build your dreams, has actually recently grabbed the largest order for pure electric buses in England. And here's more from our London correspondent.
This is the brave new world of public transport in the UK, manufacturing electric buses at a factory in Scotland. The UK is on track to have Europe's largest electric bus fleet within 3 years. It has around 1,000 of them, and over the next few years it will add hundreds more.
We're seeing a very positive rebound post-pandemic, particularly in London, where Transport for London have committed to converting all 9,000 buses to zero-emission operation by 2037.
To help reach that target, Shenzhen-based Chinese company BYD has partnered with the British bus manufacturer ADL to make a classic London double-decker bus powered by battery. The good news for electric bus manufacturers is that this year the British government committed over $4 billion to support getting more of them on the road.
The main benefit of electric buses is, of course, the environment. They're cleaner for the air, quieter, and you can even charge your mobile phone on them. In the UK, converting to electric has so far saved 30,000 tonnes of carbon dioxide, and that's the equivalent of taking 11,000 cars off the road.
While there are thousands of electric buses in China, Europe is still catching up. But with the post-pandemic drive for greener energy, chances are you'll be seeing more of these on the road soon.
Well, joining me now in the studio is Ma Jun, who is the director of NGO, the Institute of Public and Environmental Affairs. Welcome to Global Watch, Mr. Ma. Well, first of all, President Xi put forward the idea that lucid waters and lush mountains are invaluable assets. So well put indeed. But how is China protecting the assets?
Yeah, it's. I think this expression, it's a metaphoric expression. Green mountains are mountains of gold. It's an expression about something very deep. You know, it's called the whole new development bill. It was put forward in 2005, as you mentioned. At that time, it was way ahead of the curve. At that time, the popular view is to develop first before we think about environment. As a result, we have experienced vast expansion of coal consumption and carbon emission and local emission, and it's not sustainable. So to then, this idea, this whole so-called theory of two mountains means that we need to respect nature, follow the law of the nature, and try to seek harmony between man and nature in our development. The deep philosophical thinking is kind of expressed in such a plain language, helping to cross the message to the population, to the vast majority of the people, make it very popular.
Right, and we all, I think everybody wants to see harmony between people and the nature, but quite often it's very hard to achieve indeed. Development in many occasions means exploiting the nature, and that has been the lesson not only drawn from China but from the whole of the world. So how to balance these two? Yeah,
I think we need to keep in mind, it's very clear that the theory of two mountains doesn't mean that we don't need development. It's actually we need development of high quality, inclusive and human-centered development. So I think development and economic and environmental protection, they're not a zero-sum game, and this has been proved by the experience in many other parts of the world, but particularly in China's epic fighting against its severe smog and polluted water. So we managed to still maintain a rather healthy development. But today, again, we must review this point because we're again face massive tension between environment and economic recovery brought on by the COVID-19 pandemic. And I think that today, that this new concept will again guide us to try to, we will understand that through this transformation of our energy, industrial, and transportation structure, to try to achieve the carbon neutrality by 2060. It can actually stimulate innovative solutions and generate new opportunities for growth, and this growth will be a long-term growth for man and for nature, for this generation,
more complicated
and for the generations to come.
We need to leave to our future generation a green bank, indeed. It's kind of it needs wisdom to both develop, to protect our development, meanwhile protecting the nature. Thank you very much, Mr. Ma Jun, Director of the NGO, the Institute of Public and Environmental Affairs. Thank you very much for your insight.
Thank you.
Now, one of China's key focuses under President Xi Jinping has been the shift towards greener development. And the Chinese leader has repeatedly, as we mentioned, called on the country to nurture lucid waters and lush mountains. But how do Chinese citizens judge the efforts so far? Let's hear from some of those working on the ground.
In recent years, the state has strengthened the protection of our land. We should strengthen investment in science and technology so that our researchers can use better methods to reduce the costs of environmental protection.
I think the city has become better, the environment is better, and the scenery is better.
I think China is doing a great job. And it's not just governmental work. It's also how the people have changed. We used to think only two things when seeing a wild animal: kill it or repel it. Now people basically observe them without disturbing them.
In recent years, the Chinese government as well as the forestry authorities have led a lot of efforts to protect the forest. So far, I think the results have been very good. The number of Asian elephants in the wild is steadily increasing, and we have successfully rescued many elephants. Some were released on the spot, while those in a serious condition were able to recover after we took them in. The people's awareness of protection and the law is now very strong. This has played a very positive role in promoting the protection of our Asian elephants.
Well, the Asian elephant is indeed a good example of how people's awareness of protecting nature has been improved largely. And tomorrow in our special series, we'll look at the party's international cooperation. We'll zoom in on the China-Europe Railway Express and the country's efforts in promoting equitable global distribution of COVID vaccines. So stay tuned to CGTN and follow us on Weibo, Facebook, Twitter for more on the party centenary.